If sudo suddenly stops working on your Linux system, it can feel scary fast. In this video, I'll show you the simple, safe way to fix the most common sudo failures step by step. This assumes that you can access the root account. If that's not available, that's normal, and we'll cover that separately. If you would like to follow along, there's a free trial of Linode in the video description. Now let's go to the terminal. Before we fix anything, we need to confirm the exact problem. Most sudo issues show a clear message. So if I was to do sudo ls, for example, and put in my password, I'm going to get this user is not in the sudoers file. This means that this user account is not allowed to use the sudo command. This is the most common sudo failure beginners hit. For example, a new Linux user account was created, but admin permissions were never added. To fix sudo, we temporarily log in as the system administrator called root. Some systems have a root password set, some do not. To do that here, I can do su space hyphen, enter, and it's going to ask for the root user password if there is one. And after entering the password, I should see root user at server. If this fails, your system doesn't have a root password set. That's normal in some distributions, and it requires a different recovery method. But now I have full system access to my server. This is powerful, so we're only going to use it briefly. For example, if we're trying to recover admin access after a permission mistake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my user to the sudoer group. On most Linux systems, sudo access is controlled by a group called sudo. A few systems use a different admin group, but we're not going to focus on that today. To add my user to the sudo group, I simply use the command usermod space -a uppercase G space sudo for the group name, and then the username, in my case is Bo. What I'm doing here is I'm adding my user to the sudo group. The hyphen lowercase a uppercase G means append to group, so it ensures existing group memberships are not removed. And we press enter, and you should have no output. And now, if you use a distro that uses a different admin group, this command won't work, but the idea will be the same. To relate it to a real world, you may need to grant admin access to a junior IT staff member. Now, group changes don't apply immediately. You have to refresh your login session. And to do that, I'm going to go back to my user, and I'm going to hit exit. And so that killed my user's terminal session. For a remote session like this, SSH is enough. For desktops, you have to log out and log back in. And so now I'm going to switch back to my user, and I'll see this message saying, to run a command as administrator, use the sudo command. This means that I now have sudo permissions. So I can do sudo ls, my password, and the command successfully ran. Without logging out and then logging back in, sudo will still fail even though it's fixed because it requires you to refresh your login session. So to verify that this worked, we do sudo who am I, and you should see the root user. So sudo is working correctly. I now have the proper administrative access for my machine. This is confirming access before installing software or making system changes, for example. If you don't see root here, then you probably still need to log out and log back in. The number one mistake that a lot of beginners make is forgetting to log out and log back in. Any type of group change requires a new session, so you should always log out and back in after making any group changes. The second biggest mistake I always see people make is using the wrong username. You should always run who am I first to get the actual username that you're needing to give permission to. And then the third biggest mistake I see beginners make is trying to edit the sudoers file directly. As a beginner, you should not be editing this file directly. Using group membership is always going to be the safer option. So let me switch back to root. And then I'm going to switch to a test user who's not in sudo yet so that we can do kind of a real world example. So T user is not in the sudo group yet. So if he was to run sudo apt update and then put in his password, he's going to get the error that he's not in the sudoers file. So it fails immediately. But if I change back to root, then do user mod hyphen lowercase a, uppercase G, group sudo, and then user t user, hit enter, and then switch back to t user. And now if I run sudo apt update, now that I'm in the sudoers group, it starts outputting text like normal and starts actually updating my server. This is the difference between being blocked and being productive. One optional small next step is that you can use the sudo command to see just what permissions you have. By using sudo -l, this command shows only the permissions, it doesn't change anything. This shows exactly what this user account is allowed to do. And he can run all commands because he's in the sudoers group itself. Work through this a few times and it will feel natural. Sudo problems are common, and now you know how to fix them calmly and safely. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment down below and I will see you in the next video.